Chapter 6. On the river's edge in Milan, warehouses sit barely used. Agent, a courier for the Mafioso, enters the city and heads to the river area. Finding the rented warehouse, he dismounts and knocks on the door. After a moment, the door opens slightly. Ejan speaks to the man at the door. "I have a message from Venice." The door opens and Ejan guides his horse inside. Yuso and 3 other men are inside. Yuso is looking over a map on a makeshift table. Yuso speaks without looking up. "Give me the message." Egan ties up his horse and walks over to Yuso. He hands over a rolled-up paper. Yuso reads the paper and turns to the man next to him. "2 things. Find me a couple of men for a second-story job. Also, I need a runner to deliver a message to the second prong." The man turns and leaves the warehouse. Yuso proceeds to write a letter, which he then rolls up and hands to Egan. "Return this to my man in Venice. Leave now." Egan heads back to his horse, leads it out the warehouse, and heads off. Leonardo is wrapped in a long cloak with a hood covering his head, exits his building, but signals the guards to stay. Hurrying to the stables, a young man has a horse ready for him. After leaving the stables, the old Leonardo becomes spry, and the look in his eyes shows cold and analytical. Guiding carefully and quietly, Leonardo leaves the city using a back road by the river. After exiting the city, he goes into a full gallop, headed down the road towards Venice. Leonardo observes a rider coming down the road towards him. As the 2 riders meet, he recognizes Matteo. "Matteo, my son, quick! Let's get off the road!" The 2 take their horses slightly off the road and dismount to talk. Matteo smiles. "It is so good to see you again. Father gave me your request that you wanted to meet in person. I've been worried about the current events. If the Mafioso finds the treasure, they will kill all of you and will become too powerful to stop. I'm not sure that they can be stopped even now." Matteo with a grim grin. "If the church finds us, it won't be any better." "Yes, my son. Finding Constantina and Belinda would allow them to suppress the truth. Now, why you wanted to meet me?" "I wanted to personally provide the outline of the plans I need you to execute, but I first need information to finish it." "Of course, I can tell you anything you need to know." Leonardo removes a map of Venice from his long cloak and spreads it out on the ground. "I have a basic plan in mind, but I need to understand details about the coming wedding. We need to blend the wedding plans with the escape plans." Matteo looked at Leonardo with surprise. "Escape?" "Yes. I'm making plans to get the family out of the country and hiding you away from Rome and the Mafioso. Now, describe the planned events." The 2 continued talking for a while as Leonardo gathered the necessary information to understand the timing related to the wedding. As the sun began to rise, Leonardo and Matteo rise from the ground where they were kneeling over the map of Venice. "Master, I hope you have enough to finish your planning." "Yes, I think I can complete the plan in time. I will send it to you in a few days. Be careful returning. There are always spies watching." "Master, you 2 must be careful." The 2 men hug before mounting their horses to return. Leonardo waits till after Matteo has left, while he watches in the trees alongside the road. With the motion across the road of another rider emerging and heading towards Venice, Leonardo calls out, "You, stranger, what are you doing?" The rider is startled by Leonardo and begins to bolt down the road. Leonardo calmly pulls out a crossbow from his pack and takes aim. With a keen eye and a marksman shot, The rider is struck in the back by the bolt. The master rides over to the dead man and begins to search his body. He pulls back his sleeves and checks out the body and finally stops upon finding a note with a symbol identifying him as working for the church. Mounting his horse, Leonardo turns and gallops back towards Milan. Enriffi is working alone in the apartment on documents for Leonardo when he senses a fight taking place in the street. He rises to look out the window and observes the guard rushing down the street, leaving his post in front of the staircase. Hearing steps outside coming from the staircase, Enriffi glances to see that the door latch is in place and heads back to his paperwork. With the sound of force being put to the door, Enriffi rushes to put the documents into the standard hiding place. As he finishes, the door bursts open and two men charge into the apartment. Enriffi heads toward the closet where his sword is sitting as the men fall on him. With Enriffi using a chair to block their sword blows, he finally reaches his sword and begins to fight back. One of the men yells to the other, "I can take care of this. Quick, find the information on battle plans for Venice." The second man begins throwing books and documents around in a hurried rush to find what he was looking for. Enriffi makes a blow, but hits a door frame, leaving an opening for his enemy. With a thrust, Enriffi is mortally wounded and slumps to the floor. The two men continue their search till they hear the fighting in the street stop. Looking at each other, they rush back to the window and climb out, swinging to the rooftop. Dashing along the rooftop, they disappear. Leonardo slowly walks down a stone-paved street. One of his guards, Gabrielle, joins him for the last block, and the two of them walk to the two-story building. Gabrielle says, "Welcome back, Master. I hope your meetings with the city leaders went well." Leonardo shows the appearance of being tired from the long day of negotiations. "Thank you, yes. I feel I need to hire some extra help for the commission we were talking about, but first, I still have the wedding statue to finish. I assume nothing has happened while I've been gone." Gabriella responds, "No, Master. I needed to step away due to a fight down the street between a store owner and a thief, but all appears quiet now. Alberto left earlier with one of my men to pick up supplies. He should be back soon." Gabriella stops and takes his position with the guard on duty when they reach the stairs of Leonardo's dwelling. Leonardo begins a slow climb up the stairs towards his apartment and studio. As Leonardo reaches the top of the staircase, he observes that the door is partway open. Something is wrong. Leonardo opens the door and calls for his assistant, "Enriffi!" There are signs that the door was forced open. Leonardo cautiously enters, having pulled out the dagger he always carries under his robes, becoming spry. The room is a mess with his books and papers strewn about. Quickly, Leonardo steps over the mess to reach the studio room, anxious as to what he might find. Leonardo's heart sinks as he finds Enriffi slumped on the floor. Leonardo rushes to his side, observing the blood, hoping beyond hope that Enriffi is still alive. As Leonardo touches Enriffi, the boy's weak voice raises Leonardo's spirit. Enriffi speaks in obvious pain and a gasping voice. "Master, I tried to stop them. I hid the document I worked on encrypting before they could break in. I did not recognize them, but I heard them talking about needing plans for a coming battle in Venice and looking for information about Defancio." As the master holds the young student, he can see the multiple wounds in Enriffi's stomach and side are fatal. So Leonardo does his best to comfort Enriffi in his last moments. Leonardo is crying and bids his farewell to his young student. "You did well, my young friend. I'll find them, and they will pay for what they have done to you. I'll ensure your family is taken care of. You have served me well and faithfully. Now rest and let God take care of you and bless you with peace." Leonardo continues to hold and comfort Enriffi for the few moments that make up the rest of his short life. After Enriffi takes a final breath, Leonardo gently lays his head down, takes off his own cloak, and covers Enriffi. Before bringing in the guards, Leonardo heads to the bookcase. Pushing the panels in the secret key pattern, he slides the back area open, exposing the hidden alcove. There were 10 hand-bound books and 3 bundles of papers inside. Checking to see that all was proper, Leonardo swiftly closes the alcove, re-engages the lock, and replaces the covering. Only then does Leonardo call to the guards standing outside on the street. Leonardo screams, "Guards, come quickly!" Gabrielle charges up the stairs and enters through the door. "Master, what happened?" Leonardo is standing over Enriffi. "Thieves snuck in and killed young Enriffi and went through my books while I was out, probably during the diversion that pulled you away." Gabrielle goes to the door and yells to the second guard, "Start searching! Sound the alarm and alert the city gate guards!" A few minutes later, Alberto arrives and runs up the steps to find out what the alarm is about. Alberto falls to his knees, crying at the sight of his dead friend, Enriffi. Leonardo, speaking under his breath while standing over Enriffi, tries to comfort the crying Alberto. Leonardo begins to rant. "I am called on by princes, kings, and popes to give them access to my capabilities. Now someone will feel my wrath. My young Alberto, I need you to step up and take Enriffi's duties. You are now my trusted second. I believe in you and know you will serve me well." Alberto looks up sadly at Leonardo, with eyes running down his cheek. "Yes, master. I'll do my best." After a few more minutes, the city guards arrive and walk through the front door to begin their investigation. Sergeant Raffilio of the city guards arrives to take control of the scene. His men are all around the small house as they pick up books and papers, taking notes of the event. A depressed Leonardo sits in the entry with his head in his hands. Raffaello kneels in front of Leonardo.
"I just heard about the killing. Our guards are covering the gates and checking throughout the city for anyone suspicious."
Leonardo responds sadly, "Thank you. I'll send Alberto to notify Enriffio's family of the tragedy. I'm not sure how long I can continue to handle this stress." The statement seemed to confuse Raffaello, but he let it slide. Raffaello responds,
"Don't worry about the details. My men will move the body to the cold storage room at my offices where his family can take it for the funeral."
Later that night, after a sad evening, Leonardo sits in his bed, trying to find a way to sleep. As was Leonardo's habit, water, pen, ink, and paper are on his night table. While tired, he is restless and talks to himself. "Damn, this tragedy. I wish unrest would be over, much like a burr in my shoe. The damned physician's medicines are doing nothing. Sleep seems impossible. Perhaps it's the continuous strain. The church hunting us. Now the mafioso and the end of Enriffi." The master gives a heavy sigh. "This is the worst time since the attack on Matteo's family. It is hard working so close with people who are killing my family. They would kill me in an instant if they knew my true nature and position." While Leonardo sits in bed to ensure proper digestion during sleep, as is the tradition, he becomes fully awake. Leonardo fumbles to retrieve his pen and paper after jotting down a set of symbols and objects. Leonardo rises from his bed and moves to his work table. For the rest of the night, Leonardo jots down notes in an attempt to capture as much of the sudden thought as he can so he remembers it later. As the morning sun rises, the number of sheets of paper scattered around the table has increased tenfold. Leonardo senses sounds as Alberto awakes and the housekeeper arrives. Still working on the thoughts from the night before, he calls out, "Alberto, I need maps of Defancio's area in Venice." As Leonardo continues to work, Alberto appears with maps and books. Gathering the papers on the table, he begins to organize them. Leonardo begins to pore over the details of the maps. As the shadows of the morning move towards late afternoon, Leonardo quickly works on, watched over by Alberto. Food comes and is ignored. Maps are done with and quickly taken away, along with the books. The shadows evolve into the early evening candlelight, and still, the master works. He touches for a clean sheet of paper as he pulls together some of the other papers, forming a small collection. Leonardo finishes writing a letter at the table. He walks to the secret area and retrieves a box. Returning to the table, Leonardo opens the box and removes the cryptics. Spinning the dials on the cryptics, he opens it and inserts the letter. After closing the cryptics and replacing it back in the box, Leonardo calls out to the young apprentice, "Alberto!" Leonardo catches the heavy steps as Alberto comes running. Yes, master!" Handing the box to Alberto, Leonardo instructs his young apprentice, "We need to send this message immediately, and it's too late for the normal courier. We need to do it undercover. I fear our movements are being watched." It was not the first time something like this had happened. Alberto knew exactly what needed to be done. "I understand. I'll get the message out tonight." "I need you to be careful. Between the church hunting us and now the mafioso, we cannot make any mistakes." I understand, Master. Can I ask why you deal so closely with the church since they are hunting us?" "The best cover is often partial truth. We deal with the church both for their financial support and to be close and hear of any efforts they may be taking against our people." Alberto had long worried about the stress on his master. "How long can you maintain this position, Master? The pressure is taking a part of your life. I can see you growing old from the strain." "Hopefully not much longer. I am considering passing on the burden of leadership and maybe spending more time training Matteo. Now, on your way." In the dark of the late night, Alberto dresses in dark clothing and a black cape. After throwing a rope out the window at the back of his sleeping quarters, he climbs out the window and down the rope. He sneaks down the back alleyways through a number of blocks and eventually reaches a local stable, constantly checking to see if anyone is following him. Alberto quietly opens the door to the stable and enters a room where a number of boys are sleeping. After slowly moving to his friend Rico, Alberto put his hand over Rico's mouth while waking him. Rico wakes up and recognizes Alberto. Quickly, the two boys sneak out the room and go outside. Alberto hands the box to Rico. "Rico, our master needs this delivered immediately to Defancio in Venice. We fear we are being watched. Enriffi was attacked and killed this afternoon by someone searching for papers. It could be the church looking for the signs of Freemasons or perhaps a deadly group from the south." Rico sighs heavily. "Yes, I heard about Enriffi. I'll leave immediately. I can get a horse outside the gates." I know the back entrance to deliver to Defancio. I'll make sure it gets to his hands without detection. Thank you. I knew we could trust you. Be careful. A courier died south of Rome. I'll see you when you return. Rocco heads down the side street. Alberto returns the way he came to get back into the master's home undetected.
Please like and subscribe the Watcher in the Fall channel.